Добрый день, дорогие друзья.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Welcome to you.
Мы рады сегодня всех видеть.
We are really glad to see you all today at our online class, The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky. And I propose to start Director of the Virtual Research Center, IDR, Luke Michael Ironside. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending on where you may be in the world. We have people joining us from all over the globe today. So on behalf of the Virtual Center for Theosophical Studies, I would like to welcome you to this ongoing study class on H.P. Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. This is, as I mentioned, an ongoing project because the Secret Doctrine is an immense study, not something that can be studied simply through one or two or even 10 or 20 sessions. It's an ongoing study. And in essence, I'd like to emphasize that the Secret Doctrine is an individual study. It's something that every student needs to embark upon by oneself, needs to study and meditate on by oneself. But the purpose of this group that we have put together in collaboration with the Adamant Lodge of the Theosophical Society in Russia, the purpose of this study class is to come together to share in that experience, to perhaps arrive at a deeper level of comprehension of the truths contained in the Secret Doctrine, and to some extent to deepen our understanding of our own individual studies. In her introduction to the Secret Doctrine, Madame Blavatsky wrote that what is now attempted is to gather the oldest tenets together and to make of them one harmonious and unbroken whole. And that is what the Secret Doctrine is. It is a harmonious and unbroken whole. As such, it is a system. There is a certain sequence for its study. It's a gigantic jigsaw puzzle in which the pieces fit together, and things which may appear mysterious or incomprehensible at first gradually have light cast upon them through the progress of one's studies. And so through this joint effort as students of Theosophy and students of the Secret Doctrine, we will hopefully unearth some of the mysteries therein and the secrets of the work. So far, this study class has been extremely successful. The reach has been such that we have had students joining us from all around the world, from Russia, Moldova, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, the United States, Bolivia, Nigeria, India, the Philippines, Japan, Pakistan, Lebanon, Ukraine, Norway, Mexico, Germany, Estonia, Indonesia, Finland, Spain, Turkey, and the Netherlands. So we can truly say that this is a global undertaking. The videos of the study classes have had more than 1,300 views on the YouTube channel, and training materials have been sent out to participants before and after the seminars. As this is an ongoing study and not merely a standalone lecture, I would encourage all participants to join in the monthly sessions, to spend the month between each meeting studying the work's reference, studying the Secret Doctrine, and reflecting upon and meditating upon what was discussed. With that introduction, I'll hand back over to Eugenia, who has a few words to say on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear friends, today we continue to study the Secret Doctrine, Stanza 1, Sloka 1. Since the beginning of study, it is really important to understand the whole structure of the Secret Doctrine. In volume 1 of the Secret Doctrine, particularly in first 3 stanzas, there are many abstract notions. Of course, we can always read in Theosophical dictionary of Madame Blavatsky and understand what this or that notion means and how to decipher it. But until these abstract notions and images are not concrete to our consciousness, there will be no understanding or life of these space that are described in the stanzas. To us, it can be all far away, it can be mechanical. If we pose their attention to the stanza itself, to commentaries by HPB, we can create system or structure for these images. At the very beginning, when we were starting study of the Secret Doctrine, the preface or the introductory part, we were trying to create this structure or system. If it is understandable, each and every of us can bring up our understanding, our images, but they will be in concrete sequence with understanding clarity of this system. It is important to know that HPB writes nothing for just for writing it in the commentary. If there is certain information, it is needed for something and it is important, it is very important. And if we are patient enough, if we focus on it and understand this whole structure, we can study it, make research, come deeper to the structure and make it alive. Of course, it's individual study and individual creativity of each and every of us. While preparing Sloka 1, we received several questions, and there was one question coming one time and again. How can you make research into the first Sloka if there was nothing? And talk about absolute, if it can be talking about only with in or on preface. There is some concept or notion in this approach that denies the thought and understanding itself. But not every of us were at the Indian or Pacific Ocean, but we believe that these oceans exist. We should believe that is described by HPB in stanzas, because every time we meet in slokas that was not, we can make a research and suppose that it can come one day. And therefore, we come to the reason or cause, because it is always unseen. We can see only the consequence. And together today, we'll try to come from different points to Sloka 1. And if this impetus gives one more point of understanding this knowledge, then we'll be united in the consciousness. Today we have interpreters Alexander Bobko, Olga Tomchuk, and Sergei Nasetkin. Thank you very much to you for being with us today, and thank you for these links with us via contact. We also bring thanks to Maxim Yegorov and Alexander Kulishov, our technical support with the whole world. Thank you, dear Luke Michael Ironside, for cooperation with us and for realizing this project. Thanks to everyone who joined this workshop. Thank you for the interest towards the study of Secret Doctrine. Today we started stanza 1, Sloka 1, and we leave this day in certain energies and nidanas, and every new day is unique because nothing repeats. So the thought that can be proclaimed today and understanding of the Secret Doctrine in energies of this new day can be really different according to Kala Chakras and Nidanas energy. Our workshop is started by Vladimir Vasilyevich Yari, who will propose at the very beginning the uniqueness of today's day and thoughts of Madame Blavatsky from the Pearl of the East. Good afternoon to everybody. I really thank everyone who came and who has interest in this knowledge, because the Secret Doctrine is a really saving circle that makes us remain on the surface of water, meaning us as the universe. And of course, this circle should be grabbed so that we try not to drown. And that is why the Secret Doctrine gives us a vast understanding, limitless, for freeing our conscious. We can free it just if our physical mind, born out of our physical nature, we can only bring it to a certain height. In other words, we should learn, we should teach our nature to suppress to higher laws. It is very important. The thought of Madame Blavatsky today already gives us particular direction to our thoughts. And the thought is the following. Buddha asked, if a person who has been granted communion with me does not live according to my commandments, what good will even 10,000 instructions do him? That is the question. So, according to this thought, we already have, so to say, further questions coming from us to this question. And these questions that are coming to meet it are the following, more or less. What is the student and what is the teacher? Why should we follow instructions? What will they bring us? Who is me? What is me? Where am I? And why am I here? So all these questions, if everyone looks honestly inside his or her consciousness, and this depth of consciousness can be revealed only by intuitive thinking, then do it honestly, sincerely, according to the consciousness, and answer these questions that emerge according to the thought of the day. Then everyone can answer yes or no, whether he or she is following these instructions according to the thought of the day and Buddha, and according to Buddha and his instructions, or towards the teaching we are going towards as the Secret Doctrine, where from the first page it is written that this text should be approached not by our common thinking, but intuitively, by intuitive thought that will be primary. And this primary thought, first thought, always starts to be drowned by our logical thinking. We're used to, from the very beginning, we're like driven by our what we are used to. But this is just trick of our mind and our intelligence. So our mind comes with the very first thought, and the second plane is occupied by, first of all, other things, because we put ourselves to the first place. We just ignore this instruction. The first thought our intuition answered to, we just draw it away. And after it happens, of course, we cannot follow precisely instructions given by our teacher. And this question, what is the student and what is the teacher? This question is for us as a point that stops us towards the way to this thought of the day. How can we follow instructions of the teacher if even before that we are following our mind, we are used to and do not trust, but think that these are we who know. And here there is no student and no teacher. We are in different vibrations then, because there is no trust. And without trust, there is no respect. And with no respect, there will be distortion. And we will just adapt teaching to ourselves and not adapt ourselves to the teaching. And then there will be no student. This thought of the day pushes us, gives us direction according to state of our consciousness that we should use to start studying stanza 1, sloka 1, and the Secret Doctrine in general, but particularly today sloka 1, that says, the eternal mother giving birth, wrapped in her ever-invisible robes, had slumbered once again for 7 eternities. From the very beginning, we should liberate our mind by suggesting that the human in this prolonged state where there is space itself as the mother giving birth in her ever-invisible robes is before the age at the dawn of Manvantara. Then once again we hear the word that says about periodical law. So all these moments in, as it seems, simple sloka, there are some moments we should understand, that we should catch, and for that we should switch off our mind and approach vibrations of these nothing, of this empty space, empty for our senses and for our mind or intelligence. We see nothing there. That is why we see emptiness, emptiness of space. This mind should be led to this emptiness. This empty state is revealed by one particular moment, attention. We come to attentiveness. That is called particular approach of our mind, of our conscious, to the moment when we observe. There was a small talk I had, and the notion of observing is different to the true sense of this deep and even secret, real understanding of reality, of this observing things which prepares this empty space in our mind, so kind of creates a good ground for that there is silence in our mind. So we should achieve this silence, just silence, and then there is no need to observe. It is just to create ground. Do you understand? And after that, there will be action or activity of our consciousness. So, action of our consciousness. If we take into account that we prepare the ground by observing, there we have thought that is emerging. This abstract thought, philosophical thought, it differs from our thinking we are used to because it acts immediately. There is no need to reflect. There was no need to reason. There is also need to reflect. So we should come to this thought, and we are getting ready for this space. It is slumbering. Yes, let it slumber. We are following it. That is the practice itself. So Zen stanzas are a really deep meditative practice that, as usual, studied in groups, is when people require, when will the practice start? But I say we're in practice right now already, it is on. We just switch on or switch off. We switch off our mind for this time. We make it empty. And to this emptiness, we see some kind of magnet due to the fact that we observe, and this magnet attracts elements and makes the ground ready by ideas, by these ideas as elements that will let us, while thinking, unite the two contradictory things. Buddha used to pose this question and tell people that they should unite two things that are contradictory to each other, and who didn't manage to do it, then Buddha didn't let him go further because there is no sense till the mind of a person is not ready for silence in observing reality, in perceiving reality. So the first stanza tells us that the eternal mother, who is like pre-eternal, she is before the age in before Manvantara in Pralaya, in her Pralayan state, has already eternal life, where breathe is eternal in its subsequence. It makes us eternally, either makes it disappear or groups it or forms it. And if we imagine that these letters, secret letters, the space is in this eternal state, then all the knowledge is there, mind is there, everything is there, but in the state where there is nothing, where it's like dissolved and waiting for the eternal breath that will start inhalation of this chaos, or the absolute consciousness and its absolute condition will just put it into united paper. During inhalation, there is just the first paper put around stanza 1, Sloka 1. There is inhalation from chaos, starts to group, and the new Manvantara or the new universe starts to form. So this scroll of paper, it scrolls the space condition of the future Manvantara, of this thought that is in this space that will start even in this wheel of universal life, in 7 Manvantara movements of each point of each stage will reveal these scrolls and divine thoughts in this space. So the first scroll is scrolled inside, the first space is here, and there we see the mother slumbering. And inhalation of the eternal life made the impetus to the first scrolling inhalation. And all the Zen stanzas will have it. Sloka 1, the first stage, Sloka 2, the second. It is all inhalation process till we have the scroll wrapped around itself once again. And from chaos we create the new order, but the chaos itself, or the Maya, the great Maya that is in Pralaya now, with the great mother given birth, is before the age that is pre-eternal. For our mind there is chaos, for our consciousness there is chaos there, but there we have the greatest order, so to say, in its dissolution. And this dissolution from the order by eternal life, by breathing, we create the new eternity. And this eternity, there is a new Manvantara, and the new Manvantara is the new impetus that should be. And this impetus of this space is the first that is in place. This impetus, the future Manvantara of this space, of such space, that will become a kind of aura of the further universe, if we can say so, because there, in this aura, there is everything. There are all the combinations at the same time. In this manuscript, in this scroll, there is everything at the same time. So in stanza 1, Sloka 1, we can come deep into it and be there forever in this state till you are brought out of cave as yogas, you know. After that they will make you alive as it seems to them, but they will make alive our psychological and physical functions, but the mind will be alive. It will be awakened in its pre-eternity. Can you imagine what the person can do, what limitless achievements he or she can have? So can you imagine further?
Imagine all 7 stanzas get unroll these books and everything. The eternity is present there in different combinations, in different forms, different hierarchy, different forms, different powers, etc. But most important that in the first sloka we have an impulse. Try to understand that we've got an impulse to contemplation, to reflection. In other words, one can say meditation. Just in the East, in Sanskrit, they say meditation, but in fact, we mean contemplation, we mean reflection. But in reality, this is meditation. It is meditative state of the human being, the human meditating. its highest ego is reflecting. The highest ego of the human being uh, makes this highest vibration according to Buddha, the vibration of light. The highest manas is the ray of light, and this ray touches our intellectual capacities or our mind. And if our mind is unstable, the prisoner, the mind, will never let the clear reflection of this ray of manas, the highest manas. And at this point, there will be no thinker, but the thinker starts existing when it felt the touch of this ray, and this ray got reflected in the emptiness of the mind. The emptiness of the mind reflects the ray. Through Antakarana, this ray goes through. And our capacity as a human being to feel this kamamanas or the receptive intellect, we start to feel these vibrations, these highest vibrations, and according to these highest vibrations comes a new thought or new combination of our thinking. You see, in fact, meditation is way more complicated. That when the time comes, when the teaching let us throw away all the unnecessary, all the useless that we do not need, and in many schools, many teachings of the past, the perception of those who was writing down, copying, everything was changing, something was added, and in the end, the core, the main idea was hidden. And this core is the secret. This core is the pure meditative looking for the reality. Because before, we could not reveal it. This kind of soup was to be ready. The humanity was to be prepared in their mistakes, making mistakes, or maybe feeling the intentions. And thus, this secret of 7 planes of existence was hidden. The sevenfoldness was hidden, but they told about threefold, about fourfold, about fivefold, about sixfold, but they were never speaking about sevenfold. Now the secret is to be revealed. Now we could define the planes of being, and for us now it is possible to trust our willpower, our spirit power, and create without any guides, which reflect without any mediators. Just by learning, by studying the secret doctrine, we get into meditative state, and intuition as a cup where we gather information and we start feeling the knowledge. Here there are two more notions, intuition and the feeling of knowledge. These two notions, they seem interchangeable, but in reality they've got two important aspects. Intuition is somewhat provided by our consciousness, by our certain feeling of inner order, of our character, which is manifested at this moment of life in this form and in this way by our vision of life. But the feeling of knowledge is the highest achievement by awareness, because the intuition I would say the intuition does not need our awareness on one hand, but pushes us to this awareness, to be aware about the law. But the feeling of knowledge is the consequence of our gathering of this wisdom, the spiritual wisdom that is proper to our ego. And when we got enlightened by the ray of our highest self, when we get together with the teacher and the student, when we become a teacher through our trust, our mind gets calmed down because we venerate. The veneration gives the possibility to calm down for our mind. It is very easy. And then the notion of hierarchy becomes very easy, very clear. It becomes the absolute law. It becomes necessity. And this necessity as a stage, that's why Elena Petrovna Blavatsky was telling us about the hierarchy of light, about the highest white brotherhood. She was calling us there for us to understand that without teachers, we would have stayed in troglodytes state, because Shambhala, the land where the teachers are present in their fine bodies, they always give us impulses at the very important points of human development. It's a continuous movement of mind, and without this brotherhood of teachers, we would have stayed in troglodytes wild state. Because in this world, in this manifested universe, the universe of karma, of our desires, our lower nature is always stronger, and without guidance, we would be worth absolutely nothing. The planet would have gotten destroyed. It was saved in Lemuria by the teachers of humanity. In Atlantida, the teachers of humanity saved the earth. Thus, in our fifth race, in the 1899, again, the brothers of humanity saved the earth. They didn't let it fall apart. That's why, without guidance, authority, very often out here, they would tell me that the student should not pay attention to authorities. Where does this strange idea come from? But this idea does exist. Yet authority is just a person who has bigger knowledge, bigger experience. It is somebody who can be the teacher. According to the hierarchy, it is just a part of the hierarchy of connection. And that's why we have to build a relationship. And only the student can learn something from students like him. And this is the most complicated with the equal, or maybe not equal, maybe they are somewhat lower in their culture of the mind, but in this life they may be this way. Yet, from these people, some wisdom may come out, but we need to learn how to hear, having ears. We need to learn how to see because we've got eyes. What do we have to see? We have to learn how to see the eternity, the spirit, the ego in the human being. Then everything will get to its places. we will be able to learn from everybody, because in our nature, here on earth, everything is human being. From elementary up to elephant, till God, everything is human being. Human being is the measure of everything. Every manifestation of life has its consciousness, yet in the synthesis of all that can bear only the human being. And when everything is synthesized and got put together, we can become godlike. The symbol of time is the wheel, and it reflects the cosmic mind of the human being. Here, the potentiality is revealed, the numen, the space. And in this space, the continuity becomes time. And at this point where we are in the energies, in specific energies, and they are here presented. They mean thought, the thought of this eternal life in such combination. Century of the white dragon, year of the white bull, month of the white hare, the week of the white goat. Pay attention. All nidanas are of white color. The white color symbolizes ether. Ether as element, as all elements, they are always sevenfolded. It means the ether which is present, manifested, is on all the seven planes of mind. It has the highest mind symbolized by triangle, lowest state of mind symbolized by the square. And imagine these white energies, all the energies, century, year, month, week, all they are synthesized and put together in one loop, one spiral of today, the day of the yellow snake. If you noticed, yellow snake is in the Aries constellation and in the middle of the 5 principles. In this first fire, the first fire symbolizes, on the one hand, impulse, an impulse to mindfulness, which is manifested by dragon being. If you want to understand the being, the yellow dragon, you have to be mindful. You have to practice mindfulness, which is about Buddhi nature. And this nature is presented in the human being. It is presented in all the guides. This color of Buddhi, everything is light, all our nature. If you let this light through, then the ether as element can manifest its highest nature in our mind. Thus, we can perceive, we can catch very high vibrations. Do you understand that when we practice mindfulness, when we are aware and we apply the teaching to life, we start follow the commandments according to the day, to the thought of the day, where Buddha talked to his disciples and asked, if somebody who was granted communion with me does not live according to my commandments, this is the answer. The answer is to reveal the possibility to attract the highest ether. And in the highest ether, the idea is the plane of God, which we can realize, which we can manifest. Thus, we can help the light brotherhood. We can do it. Everyone can do it. It is so good to be conscious, be aware, and only by our awareness, by our understanding that we are like this God's nature, will let us accept the wisdom, the truth as it is, and then we will be light, we will be happy, we will be glad to live on this earth without destroying its raw materials, just taking it for granted. Do you know what we are doing by doing this? From the heart of the earth, you know the name of the master of the earth, Sanat Kumara. We are taking the life energy, the energy of love from his heart by exploding it. And of course, it explodes. Teachers thus do not let it happen for the moment. So let us be at the highest level of these energies. Let us deserve it. Thus, by studying the stanzas of Dhyan that we know, yet studying them as new, we can discover all the possibilities of our potential. And we can perfection our character. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. By living this day in Nidana of the century of white dragon, year of white bull, month of white hare, Nidana of the week of white goat, and the day of yellow snake, Vladimir Vasilyevich told us what they mean on the wheel of time. Dragon is wisdom, bull is realization, hare is knowledge, goat is love, and the snake is mind. Thus, today, while we were listening to this introduction, this connection was taking place, the connection between invisible and visible, because visible is always a human being. And the main idea which our school brings is the idea when the secret doctrine is applied every time, every notion is applied to the human being, to ourselves. And then, by doing this, by applying this wisdom to ourselves, we can understand it. The pre-eternal mother giving birth, wrapped in her robes, was slumbering for 7 centuries. The pre-eternal mother, it means the eternity, had not started. It is the state of eternity is described because the eternity can be counted. The eternity is connected with Manvantara and Pralaya. Giving birth, it doesn't mean that the birth has occurred. Giving birth is the strength of potentiality of the future birth, future emergence, slumbering once again. The slumbering does not mean sleeping. This is a state between sleep and the state of wakefulness. It indicates a partial pralaya. The space is the mother that gives birth beyond the influence and dependence of the presence or absence. In this space, the objective universe, because there is neither objective nor subjective universe. Therefore, there is nothing to depend on. Thus, by thinking, by reflecting on this sloka, we are trying to get deeper, to deepen every notion, to understand its core idea of these words, yet they are abstract. The veils or ropes we encounter these notions as sloka. What is this? It's a knowing, something not differentiated, the cosmic matter, but it's not the matter that we are used to listening about. It's a spiritual entity. The veils are the reasons for the future matter. Mula Prakriti. This notion is given in the first sloka and of course in all the other slokas. What is Mula Prakriti? Elena Petrovna just writes that it is the Akasha's radiance, the source of radiance of Akasha. It is the primordial substance, the foundation of Upadhi, the vehicle of every psychic or mental phenomenon. And, you know already the planes of being, where every plane is explained, it has its symbol, its numbers and figures, its structure. Every notion that we encounter in the Secret Doctrine, we can consider it, we can analyze it through the planes of being, and we can see what it is made of, where it is, what is in the state of existence, which symbol, how it lives, what kind of life it has. And the description of Mula Prakriti as the guide, psychic or mental, we can follow it through the planes of existence. The guide of this mental state is the plane of the mind and creativity. Psychic is the plane of material and formative. If we look through the symbolism and try to understand it, we will understand what it was about. Seven eternities, seven periods, or seven periods equal to seven Manvantaras, or during the Maha Kalpa, which means 100 years of Brahma. Why Elena Petrovna gives us the numbers when nothing existed? There was nothing. Look at this number, 311, 040, and 9 zeros. The sum of this number is 9. 9 is a symbol of spirit. And in total, digits in this number, if you count everything 3, 1, 1, 4, 1, there will be 15. 15 gives 6. 6 is the symbol of matter. Thus, in this cycle of the great Manvantara, which is defined by this enormous number, enormous digit, there is spirit and matter. 9 spirit and 6 matter. 0. What is 0? Something limited. It's a limited world because it is limited by our understanding, just like any world. Thus, these worlds or these zeros have their meaning. Let's continue. What Elena Petrovna provides us in your comments about the cycles of time. 360 days of Brahma in total. 9. 360 nights of Brahma in total. 9. The year of Brahma, which is 360 days and 360 nights, gives us 720, which is 9. The day of Brahma is calculated in 4,320,000,000, and which is 9. In total digits, we've got 16, which is 7. It is not just a random coincidence, because if the number is God, by understanding the numbers, understanding the digits, we can understand the God energies of them, like revealing, lifting the veils and looking what is it behind them. And by looking at this number, the thought appears. How much would give us the sum of this 4, 3, and 2, 9? But we know that zeros are not just nothings, they are worlds, they are eternities. And by understanding this, we can understand 7 periods, which is the cycle of 1 day of Brahma. So we have 9 and 7 inside. And these sacred calculations help us come to understanding that every number multiplies of 7. We can analyze geometry of this element. Is it a subjective or objective world? They are different cycles which are inevitable. Multiplies of 7. So all the cycles in the sum give us 9. And if 9 is multiplied by 7, we will get 63, which is 9 as a sum. What does it mean? If 9 is the spirit, it means that the spiritual nature of 7 eternities is something primordial, is the beginning of every plane. Spirit is the beginning of every movement. 9, a spirit, is the beginning of differentiation, which means the spirit is primordial. Everything starts by spirit. So these veils, what are these veils? What do they mean? How to define them? But for having an abstract knowledge that they're invisible, and there are 7 of them. And there was a thought on this stanza that all these veils are described afterwards in other stanzas. And this is a description of something that was not, but something that will be revealed when the cycle starts or Manvantara starts. Thus, now, in the first sloka, we can understand these 7 veils. This first veil, first robe is time. Everything starts when the time starts, or Manvantara. Eternity, which is calculated in 311 or 0 and 9 zeros. You know, this partial pralaya tells us that differentiation, the hidden differentiation, has started because we've defined the absolute of the unique, yet the form didn't exist. It just started to get together. And this state of forming before its total manifestation is described in the first 3 stanzas of the Secret Doctrine. The second veil
The second veil, Ahai, when time appears, then there is a hierarchy of beings who are the vehicles of the divine forces. This is breath of life, inhale and exhale. Veil 3, it's universal mind. Principle number 3, Mehat, the highest menace. First, there are Ahi, which are vehicles that are ready to accommodate the universal mind. And then there is the universal mind emerging. So those Ahi can make that universal mind getting manifested. The veil number 4 is the 7 ways to end suffering. A very important, it's the veil 4. The 4 is the shape, but this is internal shape. The first 3, time, Ahi and mind, fall into the 4th state, and there is a 7-fold. In what this 7-fold? In the direction of the paths to bliss. That is, the path is marked out by the higher powers before the causes of suffering appear. This path is given as the highest thing given to the highest, getting out of the future sufferings. It was probably impossible to do the opposite. If only the lower ones hadn't come first, that is the causes of suffering, the higher ones wouldn't be able to manifest. So the highest veils go from outside to inside. So the veil number 5, the great causes of suffering. Potentiality, 5, the symbol of man. The gods do not suffer, minerals do not suffer, plants do not suffer, animals do not suffer. Only man suffers. Man is the cause of suffering potentially. And this is the veil number 5. Veil number 6. This is father, mother and son. They are as one. What does it mean 6? It's a heart. It is the single supreme essence, Buddhi, wisdom. This is the state of unity between the male and female principle and of their movement or ray. There is no movement, nothing has started. There has been no division. State 6 is the state of absolute wisdom. And this is the veil number 6. Veil number 7. The son who will get awakened to a new will, and the sun or a ray, when this is the beginning of the movement, when all the 7-fold is gathered together, the movement arises. The ray symbol 7, the awakening of Manvantara will begin, and the countless incarnations of the soul, sun, monad begin to wander. And now, knowing from the prologue that we have 3 fundamental principles, and one of that is a very important one. This is identical nature. And why don't we use this, the law of identical? Why can't we use this principle to disclose the understanding of each sloka? And let's see how those can correspond with the 7 races of humankind. Veil 1 and 2 correspond to the future of race 1 and 2. This is time and Ahi, almost one state. Simultaneous manifestation, when race 1 emerged with race 2. That's why the race 1 and race 2, they got merged together, if you remember. So the race 1 didn't have the continuation, it got merged with race 2. Veil 3, this is the future race 3, and here man becomes monadic. overshadowed humanity with reason. Veil number 4, this is the future race 4. Humanity has reached the ideal form. Matter has acquired the densest state, the flowering of human genius. On a circle of races 4 and 7, the race is in the same sector. You can see on the picture, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, fourth and seventh race are in the one sector of this periodicity. So Veil 4 includes 7 ways to end suffering. So that is, first the matter of the race 4 is revealed, and then its spirit was revealed as the race 7. And this path in a shape of manifesting liberation, from materializing the spirit to spiritualizing the matter. Veil number 5, the future of race 5. After Atlantis, there came a new race of Aryans, who were destined to give the basis for race 6 to come through great suffering. And at this moment, mankind is going through race number 5. And now we have the consciousness about the race number 6. In Agni Yoga, this race 6 is called indigo children. So Veil 6, this is the future race 6. Father, mother, this is Buddhic. So 3 principles should merge together into 6, 4, 5 and 7 merge into 6 or become wise. And on this wheel of periodicity that was shown, so race 4 and 7 in one sector, the same race 3 and 6 also in one sector. Veil number 7, this is the future race 7, the sun who has awakened. So the race 7 finishes the evolution of humankind and the new cycle begins. 7 doesn't exist, but is the next first. This is the nature of the great journey, the eternal movement. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky describes in commentaries one moment, one point about the masculine and feminine principles. She says that there is a masculine principle, this is vertical line, symbol 3, and there is a feminine principle, horizontal line, symbol number 4. But the phrase in the Secret Doctrine is like this: feminine principle is horizontal and vertical line together. So 3 and 4 makes 7. And here is in this combination is the root cause, when there was not yet a separate feminine and masculine principle, but there was a single space, and only then, when differentiating starts, then the mother gives birth, and there will be a separation of feminine and masculine. The potentiality of the feminine principle accepts and accommodates the potentiality of the masculine principle, and therefore the feminine principle in all religions was revered above the masculine one, since it was which accepted and contained the masculine principle and became one with it. Thus, it is also a great sacrifice. In this connection, and accommodation is the beginning of life. So Helena Petrovna writes that the feminine principle is the horizontal line and the vertical line together. Combination, conjunction of 3 and 4, conjunction of 2 lines, or vertical and horizontal, and then there is a cross. What is a cross? Cross of life is a conjunction between mother and father, between lines and numbers, and only then do time and space arise. I would like to dwell upon another comment by Helena Petrovna to first Sloka, which describes the number 10. 10, it's a circle with a diameter. And in commentaries it's written, the third part of number 10, that means a circle divided into 3 parts. What does it mean? It's very interesting. First there was a 10, then the third part, and then 3 worlds appeared as a triangle inside, or 1000 as Helena Petrovna wrote. It means 1 and 3 zeros, 3 worlds together, and there in this duality there is a 7000 number, the 7 worlds, 2 triangles, and we can see how it happens. What does it mean 7 worlds? This is 2 triangles and the dot inside 7 as a synthesis. So this graphical symbolism demonstrates very important ideas. Why Helena Petrovna in this sloka speaks about Pythagorean triangle? Let's see why. The Pythagorean triangle shows how 10 appears. First, second, third, fourth, makes together 10. Adds up to 10. 10, as we saw, is the symbol of movement. But when it can appear without 7, which is the movement of the ray, 7 is hidden. When 7 is manifested, only then the movement starts. But there is no 7 yet. It's hidden. It's skipped. So the ray is hidden, the movement is hidden. The inner movement is not manifested. It is like inner breath. So this 7 is like inner breath. It's sevenfold mother which puts together her veils out of invisible state into visible. She clothes herself in this cycle with invisible veils. So to remove the veils, first those veils should get manifested. And first they should be getting rid of. And why is the Pythagorean triangle given by Helena Petrovna in Sloka 1, stanza 1? Because there was nothing yet. To understand that 7 is a mystery, it is still hidden, because it is not yet manifested. And so 10 has no shape. It is enclosed in an abstract triangle for now. And sides of the Pythagorean triangle by 4, 3 sides by 4. So if we multiply 3 by 4, we'll get 12. 3 forms of the dimension number 4, which is a multiple of 7. This is the hidden inner potential movement, the ray. It means that any of the 4 periods manifesting from the inside out or manifesting the inner movement of its ray, it becomes 7. Let's see the next idea how 4 periods can be multiple of its periodicity, multiple of 7. 1 septenary makes 1, 7 by 2 makes 2 sevenfolds, 14, as a sum 5, 7 by 3, 3 sevenfolds, 21, sum 3, 7 by 4, 4 sevenfolds, 28, the sum 10. The sum of the 4 periods makes 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 10, 25, and sum is 7. So this sum of 4 periods is also equal to 7, and this 7, the rotation of the cross of life was laid. It was in material, vertical and horizontal lines, and when the internal movement of the 7 from the inside out began, it became spiritual, or X. This is the turn from inner side to outer side. So the movement of 7 from inside out makes it spiritual. Therefore, the secret of 7x, or our individual hidden inner transformation up to a certain period, up to a certain cycle, when karma allows to everyone, then 7 will manifest or become spiritual or light. And this is the great secret of each of us, or the secret of karma. So such thoughts about the number 7 multiplied by x. I would like to focus on the concepts that are already given in Sloka 1, stanza 1. So, having collected their brief characteristics, you will see what is a set of concepts Helena Petrovna gives and reveals in Sloka 1. Let's try to do this. And if you do not get tired of the many enumerations, then we can do it. So this way we can draw up some conclusions. So in the first sloka it is said about the space. It's the space, it's absolute container of all things, both manifested and unmanifested. The universe which lives, goes from and returns back to Brahma. For Brahma, asexual, unmanifested, is this universe, and Brahma, manifested one, is the Logos. God. What is God? The God is a space, both invisible and visible space, in the esoteric symbolism of the sevenfold clothed internal mother-father. So, when we have this united state of mother and father, then there is no Laya. Then we are located in a different aspect of the space, which is called Mula Prakriti. Mula Prakriti, hiding or serving as a veil of Parabrahman. This is the root of nature. Mula Prakriti, this is Swabhavat, bisexual, differentiated and undifferentiated, and in its first principle, it's pure abstraction, which becomes a differentiation only when it is transformed over time into Prakriti. And then it becomes This Parabrahman, this is the rootless root of everything. And then the root is Prakriti. And there Mula Prakriti is hidden. The space itself, it is the feminine principle of Brahma, the man. At the first glimpses of differentiation, the subjective falls like a shadow into the objective and becomes the mother goddess, from whom there comes the Logos, Son, God, and God the Father at the same time. But both are unmanifested. How can we see which is God and who is Son? The Son is potentiality, and the God, the Father, is a reality. So with these short rhymes, making the structure visible, we can improve understanding of the first sloka, how much is in this sloka, and then it makes it more simple. So God and Son, it's unmanifested Logos. It is inside the Mother Goddess. So there is a description of it. What is it? It's infinite, boundless and limitless. But its absolute principle is still assigned the pronoun he, not it. And from he it comes the first Sephira, the crown. Sephira is the light that first emanates from Ein Soph. In the neutral it can emanate anything, no radiation, no emanation. And it emanates only when radiation and emanation occur. And only then we can understand the notion of this, the idea of this word. So we can understand it only when radiation and emanation occur. That is the first manifested Logos or Spirit, the Son from whose substance of seven Logos emerge. Then synthesis, the one collective force, appears that becomes the architect of the universe. The divine mind becomes Mahat, Anima Mundi. And there Helena Petrovna, in the description of the first sloka, wrote according to the law of identical. A match is born, and then the condition of the cosmos, man, shows up. Atma matches Parabrahman, Buddhi matches Brahma or Prakriti, and Manas corresponds to Mahat. If Helena Petrovna tells us about what is Pralaya, of course it's interesting to see two ideas, Pralaya and Laya. Laya is the 0 point where all differences disappear, and Pralaya is the dissolution of the visible into the invisible, the heterogeneous into the homogeneous. That means even the cosmic matter, however indestructible it may show up at its core, both in the rest and in the activity. So cosmic matter is indestructible, but still, if it's indestructible, sometimes it needs to have rest, and then to return to Laya, where all causes disappear. So the essence of cosmic matter periodically shows up, both in the rest and in active movement. Pre-eternal mother, giving birth, hidden in her veils, eternally invisible, was once again slumbering for 7 eternities. So the great potentiality of the 7 eternities is not yet manifested. The cycle hasn't yet begun. The eternal mother hasn't yet become eternal. The hidden veils are not yet visible. They are not yet formed. Therefore, they are not manifested yet. So there was no formation or birth yet. But the veils of the mother, it's not her own veils. The mother giving birth is hidden in her veils. So her veils are always invisible, because as soon as the veils get manifested, only then when the mother will put off those veils, and when those veils will be removed, because when they are removed, they will disappear. So let's see how interesting. In first Sloka there was nothing, and still we have followed up a lot of different things. We have followed the whole way of the formation process, which is described in the first Sloka. The mother who was again slumbering. How can we describe this whole process? Because we have memory, and this memory is described in the first Sloka. It is described with this sentence, that the mother was once again slumbering. So this hides the experience. It happened before, it happened many times, and this experience should be known to us. And when in the first Sloka the mother was once again slumbering, and this was once again slumbering hides the experience that was already there, and we can know what will take place, what will get manifested, and for now it's still hidden. And having that experience of differentiation, of formation of the universe, of the cosmos, of the nature, and of the man, because the spirit of the man, it's united with the cosmic spirit. So this is the way to guess what is hidden in the first Sloka, what is described there. So the first Sloka, the first stanza, as the following ones, however they look abstract, still they have very live ideas, and in such small sentences Helena Petrovna in each commentaries describes, starting from the plane of spirit and going up to the most manifested plane, and with those movements from unmanifested planes to the most manifested material one. So Helena Petrovna get us used to understand this law of being the same, not to be torn away from homogenesis. We should get close to the human understanding, and as soon as we get that structure very much built in ourselves, then we start to understand and will get united, and then with uniformity it will go through differentiation and comes back to uniformity. And this way took place not once. Races went through different planes of existence many times, and then they returned to the earth. And this experience, as our poet Pushkin says, this is the way of different eras, and the genius is a friend of paradox. All the paradoxes of secret doctrine disappear when, I will repeat what Vladimir Vasilyevich said before, but it is true, but this is practically very useful. They will disappear and we become free, and we can determine the numbers whatever we want to add them up. Let's see how geometry is beautiful, from the dot into lines. All the space is very live, because between mind and heart there is that plane which reflects our senses, our feelings. And the more that plane of mind is cleaner, the easier for us to survive through all different difficult situations and go through all 7 ways to bliss, because we know the system and we trust this system. Thank you very much.
So today these were revelations according to the first sloka, according as well as further stanzas. It's really difficult as the further as well. But I'd like to share a bit of experience of our school in individual studies of every person who studies this literature, because the secret doctrine is really powerful, and it cannot be started by mind and by reasoning. We need intuition to open this subtle nature so that it becomes our main thought. For that, we need to clean up our conscious so that our mind is clean. In former online classes, we were talking about great books where we can see this knowledge, how to clean up our mind, how to follow these instructions in a due manner, and what we should do for that. There was a great book, Agni Yoga, by Helena Ivan and Erich through Mahatma Mundi, the only source of the secret doctrine before that, and Agni Yoga is the culmination of the secret doctrine. Reading or studying of it every time starts by Agni Yoga, which gives this admiration and preparation to becoming clean. We become clean because this is fire, like material, this is energy. We cannot come dirty and take this book in hands, literally. Do you understand that? And with clean consciousness, at least a bit cleaned up, we can go to the secret doctrine. When the secret doctrine was being written, William Kwan George, who was nearby Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the only person who did not betray her and who was with her, he at school and in his books was given Agni Yoga at that time, almost. He was given ethics, and this ethics or morality was alive. It became his book. We were also telling you about the great book, Two Lives of Manvantara. It is partly translated into English. You can read it. It is a story of our teachers who work in Shambhala with humanity. This is a great book, the great work, where Helena Petrovna Blavatsky is described, and many enlightened who were in Shambhala then are also described in this book. There is no other book where it can be found. Today, we're holding classes once a month, and I believe that all of you have enough time to a bit read this material and to reflect on it. And to each and every of you who is at the workshop today, we'll send a list of books that is revealing the sense of the Secret Doctrine. These are our teachers and books which are our friends, the best friends, who share experience with us. As Sloka 1, where the mother given birth, who was slandering once again, gave her experience to us. And our model, or Buddhimanas, Atma, is the form of the eternal light who should remember. And our task in our life is to waken the spirit up in order to be united with the whole process. Because all instructions from teachers in the teaching is the practical work at ourselves that is needed. And the main task of the school is to make this knowledge practical in life. We should work on ourselves, first and foremost, and make our characters better. Today, we are grateful and we thank everyone for the interest towards the Secret Doctrine. We see how many people are here with us. And right now, I'd like to give the opportunity to speak and to speak to the final, to Mr. Luke Michael Ironside, so that he can pronounce the final word at our workshop.
Well, once again, thank you for a very informative and contemplative overview of these beginning sections of the Secret Doctrine. Something that we've covered today and in other sessions, and that we've repeated a few times, is that the Secret Doctrine is not a book in the ordinary sense, in that it's not a book that you can pick up and read and then put back on the shelf and forget about. It's more than a book. It's a transformative process. It's intrinsically practical. It's intended to bring the reader or the student through a process of complete self-transformation. And it's in that spirit that the study of this text should be approached from the very beginning. And so something that was mentioned today was the distinction between the logical and the intuitive approach to the Secret Doctrine. And certainly there are places for both of these approaches in its study. It's necessary to form somewhat of an intellectual understanding of the concepts and the principles and the philosophy presented in the Secret Doctrine. But that logical, that reasonable approach will only take the students so far before we reach these barriers. And we find that these barriers are reached quite early in the text because of how complex and how intrinsically intuitional these stanzas of Xian are. And when we look at the stanzas of Xian, we find that they're very poetic. They're intentionally expressed in a poetic format. And that's because poetry is intuitional. And we find the same in the scriptures of all the great religions. We find this in the religious texts of Christianity and the religious texts of Buddhism and the Vedas. We find all of this also is expressed poetically. And that's because poetry brings us in touch with the intuitional side of our being. And it's only through this intuitional approach, which leads us to the meditative approach, that we can truly comprehend the meaning behind these stanzas of Zen and the essence of the Secret Doctrine. And so it's good to keep in mind that certain teachings are incomprehensible to the intellect, and that the intellect can only take us so far. We need to make a distinction between reasoning and reflecting. And when we find the limit of our reasoning is reached, then it's time for reflection and meditation on the poetic nature of these stanzas. There's also a place for humility and for trust in our approach to the Secret Doctrine. There's a necessity for the emptying of the mind, so to speak, of an abandoning of preconceptions of what we think about reality and what we believe about ourselves and the nature of our existence. These preconceptions and these beliefs and this baggage that we have accumulated throughout our lives, from our upbringing, from our heritage, from our own religious orientations, these can be limiting. And it's worth noting that in approaching the Secret Doctrine, we should do so with an open and also with an empty mind. We need to therefore adapt ourselves and not adapt to the teachings. And there's a bit of a tendency, I think, since the dawn of the Theosophical movement, we've seen the unfortunate adapting of the teachings to suit people's own desires or to suit people's own interpretations of them. And this can lead to a deep misunderstanding and a deep misconception of the essence of the teachings. So what we need instead of that is to adapt ourselves to the teachings which are ageless and eternal and unchanging, recognizing that our own preferences and our own interpretations may be flawed. Some of the grand concepts that we've explored, even in just this introductory portion of the stanzas, is the truth that everything exists eternally. And we find this expressed in the first stanzas in the idea of the latency of everything in the mind of the Logos, in the idea of the great breath, the outbreathing of the universe at the dawn of the Manvantara, and the inbreathing of all existence at the time of Pralaya. And it's very interesting when we examine that first stanza, the idea that everything begins in the darkness of Pralaya. The same concept is found in the Celtic worldview, the worldview of the Celtic peoples of Great Britain, who perceived the world beginning, or the day beginning at night. Their year began in the midst of winter. We find the same idea expressed in Genesis of the Christian scriptures as well, that darkness moved across the face of the waters. And it's very poetic and very interesting to see these beginnings in darkness, but also this idea of repetition, of periodicity. We have the statement that the mother was once again slumbering, that this has happened before, that it's not a true beginning, but the continuance of a cycle, of an eternal cycle. In studying these stanzas, we discover not only the potential of the cosmos and of the dawn of this existence, but also the potentials of our own being. We arrive at a deeper understanding of both the universe on the grander scale of the macrocosm and on the miniature scale of the microcosm. Because when we consider it, the human being is himself a universe in miniature, as above, so below, as the Hermetic axiom goes. We covered today the idea that spirit is primordial, that everything starts in spirit, and yet comes through into the realms of manifestation through Mula Prakriti, the primordial substance, the vehicle of every physical manifestation. We considered that in relation to Parabrahm, the rootless root, which is in essence one with Mula Prakriti, the pre-cosmic root substance. We considered the nature of space, space as being both an absolute void and a conditioned fullness, and these interesting seeming paradoxes that arise if we approach the secret doctrine from an intellectual perspective, but these paradoxes are removed once we interpret it through the means of a meditative approach, through the means of intuition. The deepest essence of the esoteric philosophy of the secret doctrine is contained in the stanzas of Xian. The rest is merely a commentary upon these stanzas, which is why it's so important to look at them in this detail and to reflect upon them. Plato said that God geometrizes, and I think that's something that we found is certainly true today, that the entire esoteric philosophy can be captured and can be presented in geometrical form. And again, this geometrical form is not intellectual. It's a meditative and intuitive approach. It's something to be reflected upon and to guide us to different states of mind. And so I would like to extend my thanks once again to the course leaders for such an interesting and informative overview of this very difficult work, and for their efforts in making it easier for us to comprehend. And as we go away from this session, I hope we will all spend some time on reflection and on review before we gather again next month. So thank you.
Большое спасибо, Люк.
Thank you so much, Mr. Luke, for this brief overview. Thank you so much. It was really great. We have a question in chat to Vladimir Vasilyevich. The following question. Do you say that the feeling of knowledge is to what we lose, and the intuition is to what is revealed? That right now the dark force and all earthly is destined to destruction, but how to hear the intuition then, or the feeling of knowledge, how to hear it? I can say, starting from the last point of the question, where we can hear the Shambhala, or hear about that, only in our heart. If it corresponds with sound of our heart, if the heart is open, but the heart is open only through respect of higher forces, through understanding that higher forces are higher, this is the only case where we can do it. Shambhala is always with us. It has never left. It cannot leave the earth because it always works in the subtle plane and in solid plane through its students. But the hierarchy is developed in the whole world and the whole planet of Earth. That is why our today's talk, do you think it's without the higher forces taking part in it? No, of course it's not the case. They do play their role, and only with their participation it is possible to reveal certain information needed for humanity right now. And one more question, that humanity is ready for destruction. No, it is not the case, absolutely. It will all be fall in the right place, and we'll have just part of elements reaction on our mind, on countries, on states, on groups of people. So there will be episodes of these elements that will destroy what we do not need. Just the planet will clear itself. Right now, the time is come. Lucifer has dissolved. We do not have him. We have just those who help him. And these are inside us as a lie, as distrust, as doubts, and all these negative ideas. The most important is to be certain that we can manage anything and everything depends only on us. Thank you so much. So this will be the positive note we'll finish with, because if something was not finished, there would be no evolution, there would be no such experience, there would be no movement. It is all finally in boundlessness that we are trying to comprehend through the Secret Doctrine and other beautiful works. Understand the Secret Doctrine in order to understand ourselves. We thank today interpreters and technical support, the director of the virtual center, Mr. Luke Michael Ironside, everybody who is here with us, who is interested in studying the Secret Doctrine, and who can so patiently understand, comprehend, listen. We are in touch and we'll send you all the materials to the email as usual. If you have any questions, please write to us. You'll see the address at the banner right now. We are in touch. We do not say goodbye. We'll have new meeting in a month, and hopefully during this month you'll be able to read Agni Yoga, Judge, Antarava, and the Secret Doctrine, second Sloka. It is so beautiful. It is such a beautiful song of the cosmic Zen stanzas. Next study is on the 13th of May, 18 hours Moscow time as usual. So see you next time. Always in touch. Wish you light and love. Goodbye. Goodbye. See you. We'll be really grateful for the feedback and we'll answer the questions. Always with you. Goodbye.